grams of the part, the important part, grams of solute, because its solute is always the active ingredient, over grams of solution. The whole. Notice, this does not say anything about the solvent. It says the part over the whole. Now, I could rewrite this, and I'll rewrite it one time. I could also put it this way. Grams of solute, still up on top, but grams of solute plus grams of solvent on the bottom. But of course, the solute plus the solvent is equal to the solution. So this is really repetitious, but I just want to pound in the idea that that's the total on the bottom. Now let me make up a problem. And what we're going to do is work a series of problems together today about percent first, and then we'll move into molarity. And these percent problems are going to be getting increasingly more difficult. So if you have questions, slow me down at the first. When you first see a sign of trouble, slow me down. Okay, let's say I'm going to make up a solution. And I'm going to weigh out 5 grams of sodium chloride. And I'm going to weigh out 100 grams of water and make a solution. Okay, so my question is, I want to know percent concentration. It's always understood that this is done by mass. And I'm not going to keep writing that. I want to emphasize this because the only people in the world that I know of that do a percent by volume, again, if you're 21 or older and happen to be browsing the shelves in the liquor store or in the grocery store, you pick up a bottle of wine and it will say it's a certain percent alcohol, or beer is the same way. They'll say it's a certain percent alcohol. People that make wine and people that make beer put their percentage as a volume percent. So let me just pick a number here. Let's say the wine says it is 10% alcohol, which means 10 milliliters of alcohol in 100 milliliters of the wine, which of course wine's a solution. They use a volume percent. They're the only ones that do. We use the percent by mass. Now, why are we cluttering up our brains with 2 different ones here? This one's our first. Because medical people like this one. That if you work in a hospital or you've been in a hospital, the IV bags always have concentration of this, that, or whatever percent. That they do not use the one that we favor, which is molarity. So it's going to say a certain percent glucose or a certain percent of this antibiotic or whatever. Okay, so here's your first problem, and it's easier than the one in the book. I just wanted a warm-up problem. And the question is percent concentration. Here's what I would do as you see these problems today. First, you look for the big clue. Well, that's the big clue. As soon as you see the big clue, I know it's time-consuming, but take the time. Grams of solute over grams of solution, and I'm going to abbreviate solution from this moment on as SOLN, times 100. Okay, so I've got the clue, I write down the equation that I know I'm going to need, and I think, well, there's 1, 2, 3 variables in this. And as we start working the harder problems, we got to sort out, they'll always give you 2 out of the 3. And so we've got to come up with whichever one they're asking for. So this is as straightforward as it can get, where it says, what's the percent concentration? So that's what we don't know. Okay, we know that 100 goes out there all the time. Okay, in the numerator right here, what should I put?
50, or 5.0, sorry.
Yeah, 5.0, and let's be thinking sig figs as we do this as well. Now, how about for the bottom here? Meredith, what should I put?
105.
Very good. Okay, I thought I would catch you there because it's so tempting to put 5 over 100. Why is 5 over 100 wrong?
Because it's the total.
It's the total, so don't get suckered into just using the solvent. This is one time on a multiple choice test. The answers are going to be kind of close together. Okay, so let's go through and punch this through, and let's be thinking about sig figs here. Russell, what did you get?
4.8%.
4.8%. Okay, is he okay on sig figs? Yeah, because you got 2 here. How many do you actually have here? Anybody?
4.
4. Because if you got a decimal, all the trailing zeros are significant. So we go with the 2. Okay, now notice here, I mentioned, answers are going to be close if this were a multiple choice question, because I guarantee one of the answers is going to say 5%. If anybody got suckered into the 5 over 100. But no, the bottom's got to be the sum, solute plus solvent. Okay, are we all right on the warm-up? Okay, now the real thing. Let's move to the textbook. We've got problem 3-14 first. Okay, let's go through what we see up there. And we read it from there. And if you have your books, turn to the page where this problem actually is, because we want to be sure if the wording is going to be confusing, because I know I've taken a shortened version when I type it. Okay, calculate the number of grams of nickel sulfate, you don't have to worry about the name yet, that's coming later, contained in 200 grams, notice the decimal there is a clue about sigs, in a 6.00% solution. Now, that is a hint. That would not be in the problem in the book. We will assume water is a solvent. Okay, now, from the book, who's got the book and who's got it up? Emily, you're always the one I can count on. Read it for us with feeling. So listen.
Calculate the mass of nickel sulfate contained in 200 grams of a 6% solution of sulfate.
Okay, now the only change, see, I have actually said grams, and that rendition said mass. So you want to be, you know, if it says mass, they're talking grams generally. Okay, so I look at that. First thing I would do, and I know this takes time, but this is the safe way to do it, especially on test day. We look at that. Okay, there's my big clue, percent solution. As soon as I see percent solution, because think back, for test 1, how many different kinds of percent problems you had. You had percent composition based on formula. You just had plain old percent problems. You had all different kinds of percent. So this is percent solution. So once I see percent solution, I would take the time to write this down. And we've got the 3 variables here. And let's see what they told us this time. Well, this one is a step up from the one I just worked, in that this time they're telling us it's 6%. Now we know that's going to be times 100, because the 100 is always out there. Here's a hint, here's a problem that students have. You get so conditioned when you're working percentage problems, you know, take it out of percent, whip that decimal 2 places over, and then go with it. If you do that, if you make this 0.06, then you don't need this 100 out here. Because if you brought it across, that would be dividing by 100, and that would do it for you. So don't switch it twice. Okay, now what we got to do, we got to decide what to do with the 200. Okay, what our unknown is and what our 200 is. And if you read the phrase, 200 grams, blah, 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 solution. Okay, so solution, numerator or denominator? Pedro, where should we go? In the top?
The bottom.
The bottom, okay, I just heard you wrong then. Okay, 200 grams down here. We are solving for that, grams of solute. Now, there's another hint in there too. We're talking about, and it was in your book, and I was too lazy to rewrite it here. In your book, what Emily read to us, it said a 6% nickel sulfate solution, I believe. Okay, see, the solutions are named for the solutes, so that's going to be another way we can tell which is which. Now, let me show you something. You can just take off, use your math skills, and this works just fine. Here's a trick that helps people if you're having trouble with math at all. Divide both sides through by 100. So you've got 6 divided by 100. And let's assume there's a decimal there because this is an absolute number. It never dictates 6. And when you divide it by 100 here, of course, that clears it. You have suddenly turned it into a ratio of proportion. And for most people, if you get to that stage, the math is easier. Then you can do a cross multiplication and solve for the x. But, you know, when I get to this point, when I look at it like this, it would be hard for me to do it in my head. Not impossible, but hard. Once I make this one little move, then I say, hey, 6 in 100, how much would be in 200? And I don't even have to grab my calculator. And so what are we going to get? Marco, what are we going to get? Okay, and what about 6? 12.0, and the units are? We're talking
grams.
grams. Okay, there's that many grams of nickel sulfate.